Seems like a long time has passed. It has been a long time, a week since the Bills took down the Miami Dolphins, but here we are preparing for game number 3 of the season, Andy, and the Bills going up against those pesky Jacksonville Jaguars once again.
Yeah, I called it the Jaguars jinx. The last 2 times they faced the Jags, they've been what Ed Oliver called weird games. So I wonder if the Jags are in the Bills' head a little bit. I think they're a better team, but this is not a team they can take lightly.
I don't think so either, Andy. And the way this season has started around the NFL, not just with the Bills and just with the Jags, the numbers seem low. The numbers are low. Passing is down, maybe rushing's up. It's starting to seem a little more even. And when you look at the Bills, 2-0 on the season. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, 0-2 on the season. But if I have said before, at least through the first month, you really can't get a grip on what teams actually are until you get a couple of games under your belt. And the Bills getting Jacksonville right now, I mean, you and I had talked that win against the Cardinals, big. You go take on the Dolphins, big. You get the win, get to 2-0. Felt great Friday morning, like the Bills might be the best team in the NFL. But as you inch closer to this Jacksonville game and you look at the Bills losing in London 25-20 a year ago, and then that putrid 9-6 loss back in 2021 down in Jacksonville, where the other Josh Allen dominated the Bills' Josh Allen. It does make you think that even with Jacksonville coming up here, maybe this is the game the Bills might stumble a little bit.
There are always odd vibes when the Bills play the Jaguars, and this is going back to like the 1996 playoffs and
Right.
Jim Kelly's final game when the upstart Jaguars in their second season of existence eliminated the Bills from the playoffs and all intents and purposes ended Jim Kelly's career, right? And then they lost to him in the playoffs after snapping the drought in 2017.
Right. You can even go back and correct me if I'm wrong out there, Bills fans. This is a memory from my younger days. I believe Doug Flutie's big coming out game for the Bills was that bootleg into the corner of the right end zone. I believe that was Jacksonville there, and that kind of put Doug Flutie into the light of, okay, the Bills might have something here.
Yeah, there's been some weird games with the Bills over the years against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You look at Josh Allen's win in his rookie season against the Jags, and many of us remember one of the greatest throws we've ever seen, and I actually saw some clips of it on X throughout the day today as we're recording. Josh Allen stepping up in the pocket absolutely collapses on him, and he just launches one deep downfield. And there's Robert Foster running under it and scores a touchdown. I think it was like a 75-yard touchdown. And that was one of those Josh Allen wow moments where people were like, this guy's got something.
Yeah. Was that the game with the big fight, or am I going back too far?
I can't remember that.
Who was the running back for Jacksonville? Well, I keep wanting to say Foster. I know it's not Foster. There was like a big brawl in the corner of one of the end zones.
Leonard Fournette. Yes.
Was that game?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy
Shaq
times.
Lawson, that whole, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, there have been some crazy games against them, and you expect that this is going to be another interesting game coming up with Jacksonville pretty much needing a win and the Bills kind of needing to stack wins to stay where they are because, of course, the Chiefs are 2-0. Some of the other stuff going around the NFL, Andy, I don't know, kind of like how you would see it, but I don't think you thought that Jacksonville would be 0-2, at least 1-1 at this point of the season. And it's really weird how things play out because the Bills could be facing an 0-2 Jacksonville team, and then the following week, depending on what Baltimore does down in Dallas, I mean, Baltimore's in a tough spot too.
Right.
So there could be back-to-back games where the Bills are facing teams dying to get wins. But we'll stay with the here and now in Jacksonville, Andy. And 0-2 on the season. They looked like they were getting off to a good start against Miami in week 1, fell apart, and then just an ugly game against the Browns.
I don't know what it is about the Jaguars, but they're just a strange team. They never really are able to fully put it all together. Like, you look at Trevor Lawrence, he was one of the most hyped number one quarterback prospects that we've ever seen. One of these can't miss Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning type of guys. And he's been good, but he's not been great. And he's had his moments where they've struggled. And, they missed the playoffs. They struggled down the stretch last season. They don't always seem to have the right things clicking at the right time. They have players, no doubt about it.
Right.
Both sides of the ball. Etienne's a good player. You look at Lawrence, of course. You look at Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie they brought in. Look at Joshua Hines Allen, right?
Right.
The former Josh Allen.
What
the
is-
other Josh
Right.
Allen. Yeah. And so there's players there, and Doug Peterson, I think, is a good coach.
I do. I agree.
Generally. But for whatever reason, it doesn't always seem to click. And they're in desperation mode. I mean, they dropped to 0-3. You can basically, at that point, kiss the playoffs goodbye.
Right. It's, Houston, wow. AFC South is a disaster other than Houston. So,
Right.
But yeah, so you look at that. They're coming in with a must-win. Their offense needs to start producing. You have Terrel Bernard out. Baylon Spector back in to start, Andy, for the first time since the game against the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. But Baylon Spector came in against the Dolphins and, as we said, did well at times. But in the run game, noticed he got pushed around. And, with Travis Etienne coming in, that is a concern right now, to me at least, on will Jacksonville be able to get the running game going. I know that was a concern going into the Miami game as well before, both their backs kind of got beat up.
So it's interesting because we've been having this discussion among ourselves, among the national observers of the NFL, as far as the changing pendulum back towards teams running the football and defenses almost inviting that. And the Bills have been one of the leaders in that forefront of saying, you're not going to beat us over the top. We're going to play that two-safety look. We're not going to give up the big plays. We're going to bend but not break. I mean, how many times over the years have we talked about the Bills getting gashed in the run game?
Right.
Yet they're still one of the best teams in the NFL.
Here's the funny part. We've also been hearing for years now, it used to be run to set up the pass. Then it's pass to set up to run. The NFL just keeps evolving and changes all the time. And I was one of those dummies who were like, it's never going back to a run-first league. It's always going to be pass first. But you look at teams, they have to make adjustments in order to win games, and it's starting to go that way right now. And the Bills have someone in James Cook, who is AFC Offensive Player of the Week, who was really good in the run game and the passing game down in Miami, but we'll get to that in a bit. We'll stick to the defensive side of the ball. I get all over the place. I just go back to the game against the Cardinals to start the year and how much problems the Bills were having with stopping the run early in that game, but they did come out in the second half and make some changes.
Yeah, and they had trouble against Dawuane Smoot against Miami.
Right.
Dawuane Smoot had a nice game rushing the football. The Bills here giving up 131 yards per game rushing. That's not great.
Right.
Not great. But it's almost middle of the pack the way that things are going in the NFL. I mean, points-wise, they're near the top of the league. So teams are inviting other teams to run the football. It's can you limit the damage from that and not allow big explosive plays to happen off that run game, whether that's a broken play that goes from a 15-yard run to an 80-yard run, or do you get burned on play action because teams continuously pound you and you feel the need to creep up and stop that.
Right.
I mean, the Bills are playing the same thing on their side of the ball as well with Cook. It's just whether those teams are more effective at it. It'll be interesting to see over the course of this season how things course correct. Is this because quarterbacks aren't as good at hitting dots on the field and maybe as accurate as they had been in past years in those pockets down the field, those sorts of things? I think this is an interesting matchup for the Bills because, A, they come off a big emotional kind of win against Tua and the Dolphins and how that all played out on Thursday Night Football in a rivalry game, and then you get a team that's desperate in the Jaguars who, is going to try to run the ball with Etienne. Whether they can do it with success, that remains to be seen.
I love how much time has passed, though, because I think the emotion of beating the Dolphins is really gone by now. I mean, you could see it in the fan base. And truth be told, I haven't been out at Bills practice all week long, but I'm assuming from what you hear from the players, they've moved on too. A lot of players do that. They have that 24-hour rule.
Well, especially with 11 days off.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, it's I don't think you keep that by nature that over 11 days they're still sitting around going, remember that play against the Dolphins the other day? Like, I even forgot when James Cook got Offensive Player of the Week. I sat there for a second going, what did he do again? And
I'm like, scored 3 touchdowns.
I'm like, oh, yeah, 3 touchdowns, 1 pass, 1 flip into the end zone, 1 little short run. But that's with time. Time passed, and you start focusing forward and not backward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think – not to say that they're going to have some sort of hangover coming off that Dolphins game. I'm not trying to say that. I just think that this is one of those weird, could-be little trap games because the Jags have some players, because they traditionally give the Bills problems for whatever reason, and because they're a desperate team that needs to get a win. The Bills, of course, can't look down the road, but their schedule is brutal the next few weeks. I mean, you can say, oh, the Ravens are 0-2, but they're still the Ravens.
They have players.
Houston's really good, and the Jets are kind of a work in progress, it looks like, but they've got players too, and traditionally play the Bills tough as well.
I don't want to be the jerk in the room, but the Houston win over the Bears, I was not impressed with Houston on either side of the ball going up against a rookie quarterback, and the fact that their offense did not put up points like I thought they would. Like, the second half of that game was annoyingly fun to me because it was such a defensive game. Really thought that, why are we talking about Houston right now?
I brought up Houston briefly, and you go down a road.
Okay, let's go back.
Like I jiggle the keys in front of you and you
go
go running,
this?
right?
Watch me do this, Andy. You ready? Stephon Diggs is now on Houston.
Yes.
Gabe Davis now on Jacksonville along with Mitch Morse. So you add Gabe Davis to the weapons for Trevor Lawrence in this one, and Gabe Davis not popping off the books when it comes to stats. No one is right now, but again, you have one of those games where it's
a revenge game for those guys.
Whatever. Yeah, I don't picture Gabe Davis being a big revenge.
You don't think so?
No.
When you were a kid, like when you played football and you were like, I hate this school. They did whatever, or this guy popped me last year, and you didn't have a little extra juice going into those games, or when you're playing a really good team?
No, I was kind of laid back. I just wanted to go out and do my job, and that's about it. I never thought of what happened the year before or the week before.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the guy. But I think, obviously, they'd want to play well playing against their old team who decided
100%.
to let them go. I mean, Ed Oliver was asked, do you have a little something special for Mitch Morse? Because those guys played against each other in practice all those years, basically right across from each other with Ed playing a defensive tackle position. And he said, you know what, I love Mitch. He's a good dude. We loved having him, loved going against him, brought out the competitor in me, taught me a lot about how to improve my pass rush and those sorts of things. So, I mean, from a Bills perspective, they're not like, oh, I'm chomping at the bit to go against Mitch Morse.
Right.
It's more of like, I got a little chip on my shoulder if I'm Mitch Morse, if I'm Gabe Davis, that the Bills decided they didn't need me anymore and I moved on.
I agree.
To a degree. You're a pro. You're getting paid millions of dollars. You're at the here and now. You're worried about other things, but just that little bit in the back of your head.
I do see Gabe Davis getting a touchdown in this just because that's the way it has to be. Period.
With Mitch Morse leading the way, blocking him.
Yeah, a reverse with Gabe Davis with Mitch
Morse
pulling
pulls.
out.
That would be, would that light Bill's Twitter on fire or what?
Oh, I doubt it. I think, yeah, that would go over well. Started off talking about Terrel Bernard, Baylon Spector to start, Andy, but bring up Joe Andreessen again now as his storybook year in 2024 continues. Local kid makes the team. We've talked about it before, but now, due to injury, might actually make his NFL debut if things go, I don't want to say go right for him, because if they go right for him, something went wrong for the Bills.
Yeah, Baylon Spector, Sean McDermott said, will get the start in this game, barring some unforeseen injury over the next couple of days before we get to Monday Night Football. Spector's interesting because he's a guy who hasn't played a ton. One career start, and that was last season in that loss to Kansas City where the Bills were decimated at linebacker. So he's another year past that and another year of experience. Can he be the leader that they need and stem the tide for a while till they see how long Terrel Bernard is out? Still not on injured reserve yet, so that's interesting. We'll see, if that move gets made. We'll see how he progresses through the week. But that would lead you to think Bernard could be back relatively soon, in the next month or so. But to your point about Andreessen, I mean, he's probably the next guy up to play. I would think he's the next backup middle linebacker to Spector, and super cool for that kid, right? All the different things that have happened and gone his way, and injuries, it is what it is, and next man up, and he happens to be there in the times that has happened. He's shined. So could he get some run on special teams? Could he get the uniform and be active for this game for the first time and have a chance to play on special teams? Or, God forbid, something happens to Baylon Spector or he needs a breather. Right. We'll see. It's a possibility.
Is it wrong of me to be so confident in the Bills' defensive backfield right now? Or was it just another game against Tua where Tua was making ill-advised throws, receivers not on the same page? Because when I look at the weapons that Trevor Lawrence has, I see that the Bills' defensive backs, the cornerbacks, the safeties, could be in good position in this game to have another game where they're kind of shutting it down and doing their job. Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas just popped off the gate against Miami.
Those two guys are really good. Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas have developed into a rock-solid combination at outside corner for the Bills right now.
Right.
And Benford has just been so steady and such a revelation as a former 6th-round pick, and now in his 3rd year, really locking down that spot and becoming one of the better, more consistent zone corners in the NFL.
Amazing.
And Douglas is just – he's good. He's just a good, solid, steady player. For the defense and the scheme and them to be able to lock down Tua, to be able to lock down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle the way they were for the most part. I think they limited those two guys to 67 yards. And Marvin Harrison in the previous game did next to nothing.
And had a huge game.
And then came back and had a monster. I think he had 130 yards in the first quarter.
Right.
And a couple of touchdowns in the next game for the Cardinals. So that just goes to show you how good the Bills' secondary and overall defense has been. Part of that, too, is the pass rush is causing problems for opposing quarterbacks. And that certainly helps. But they've done a really nice job. And you got to give it to those guys. Benford and Douglas are just strong corners, forming one of the better duos in the league right now.
Quick update on Dawuane Smoot, Andy, as he
Dawuane
Smoot.
That we've been having this discussion among Bills media members too. It is actually pronounced Dawuane, and so everybody thinks it's Dwayne because it looks like Dwayne. It's Dawuane.
Fair enough. Don't lecture me, Andy.
I'm lecturing everyone. It's Dawuane Smoot, folks.
Dawuane Smoot.
That wasn't smooth.
But it looks like he's getting healthier, might be returning to the lineup soon as the Bills hopefully will get healthier as this season goes along.
Revenge game for him. He's a former Jag.
Ooh.
There you go.
Andy keeps putting me in my place. Do tell.
Yeah, Smoot is a nice piece, and it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him in this game because last week they went with 5 defensive ends, edge rushers, and then they're able to – with Smoot, do they knock him inside to tackle in pass rush situations? Like kind of they do oftentimes with A.J. Epinesa.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how they utilize him. He's a veteran presence. I think Greg Rousseau or Ed Oliver, one of them was referring to the way that he's able to help set up the defense and guide them and make sure everyone's in the right spot from his position when he's on the field. So they haven't had him the first 2 weeks. He had a nice training camp. We'll see how they're able to utilize him as, a third, fourth, fifth edge rusher.
Such an interesting matchup there. Then you have the Bills' Josh Allen, poster boy in downtown Buffalo for Gatorade. I was out of town when I got back. I wasn't aware of what all the hype was. Then someone filled me in. But the commercial with Josh Allen by Gatorade is pretty cool.
I'm ready to run through a wall.
I mean, you watch that, and if you're a young kid, I mean, it gets you going, like all those stories of athletes in the past who no one thought was going to do anything. It's pretty cool to see that, and now the big poster in downtown Buffalo for Gatorade obviously just triggers that ad of you being rejected by all these people and just using it as fuel.
Yeah, and fueling up on Gatorade.
Which is
full of electrolytes.
Get you going first thing in the morning or whatever. Yeah,
It's super cool.
Alan Hand still dealing with the glove and probably the padding and the tape, and it didn't seem to hinder him at all, although Allen did not have to do much against the Miami Dolphins because, I mean, let's face it, Tua before his injury just kept giving the Bills short fields. So
James Cook's running the ball.
Right. And if you don't need to do anything, why do it?
It's an interesting dichotomy because for how many years have people been saying it can't just be Josh Allen? He's got to do too much. Even in that Cardinals game coming off that, people were saying Allen had to go into Superman mode. And
right.
Who else does he have? And when they got rid of Diggs and when Davis left and they didn't really fully replenish that in the eyes of many people, who's Allen going to go to? Well, now they're running the football. They're utilizing the short passing game. He's kind of taking what the defense gives them. And you got people saying like, all right, well, now we're not throwing the ball like we want to see it. It's not as exciting or whatever. And it's
right.
like, you can't have it both ways. I think the Bills are in a really great spot right now because they have the capability to beat you in so many ways. Josh Allen can go into Superman mode when he needs to. We saw that against the Cardinals.
Right.
They can also go to other options. They have other ways to win. It'll remain to be seen what happens when they need to go into a passing shootout. Do they have the horses there?
Well, that's what still
That's the one place that hasn't been determined yet.
That still, after 2 games, remains to be seen. Other than Khalil Shakir, and we saw a little more from Dalton Kincaid down in Miami, but other than Khalil Shakir, you're not getting much from any of the other wide receivers or the tight ends. I mean, Dawson Knox, I think, is playing the Dawson Knox role we all expect, maybe 1 catch, 2 catches a game. But, I mean, you look at Curtis Samuel so far, nothing. Keon Coleman.
He was okay the first game.
Good the first game, and then nothing. But, again, you have to temper that with it wasn't needed to beat the Dolphins, but we're going to have to find out one of these games. Eventually, you have the Chiefs. You have the 49ers. You have teams that are going to find ways to put up points. Probably the Texans, although I crapped on them earlier, and I'm not going to start talking about the Texans again, Andy, but, eventually that's going to happen where they're going to have to do that. And as games roll along, you might get more concerned if, the passing game just isn't doing anything at all.
Part of me wants to say, so what? They're averaging 32.5 points per game.
I'm with you.
Part of me says, okay, go win however you need to win games. But to your point, there might be a time when you're playing the Texans and they put up a ton of points. There might be also a time, too, where you're playing better defenses who figure out how to slow down the run game and how to limit some of the short stuff. Then it's, do you have the ability to win down the field passing?
Right.
Or if they get behind in a game, can you come back late? They did that to a degree. They were down 14 points against the Cardinals, but the Cardinals aren't known to have a great defense. So that is the one question we all have, but the other part of that is right now it hasn't mattered because the Bills have scored when they needed to score.
And that's all that matters. They're 2-0.
Right.
But
their efficiency on offense is good.
And as a fan of football, hate seeing all this running going on. Love seeing big pass plays, them working the ball down the field through the air or getting a big play here and there. But the W's all that matters at the end of the day, and if that's not needed, that's not needed. I just think there's going to come a time where it's going to be needed, and God help that team if they're not in position to be able to do that just because they haven't been forced to do it.
That's true, but the other part of that is they have what other teams don't have, and that's Superman. So, okay, the running game gets shut down, and they don't have the horses at receiver to just beat you with Josh Allen sitting in the pocket, throwing the ball over the field or deep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Josh goes into hero mode at that point. Sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't, but he's capable of doing things that very few other people on the planet are able to do. So when things break down and it gets into those crazy spots where they just need something, maybe that's time for hero Josh Allen. We'll see.
We'll see indeed. Andy, I didn't even realize this. Ron Darby is with the Jaguars, and I wrote Rod. I realize I wrote Rod on the piece of paper, but
that just goes to show you didn't even know Ron Darby was still in the NFL, nor did I.
I honestly did
I forgot
not.
about him.
There was a point where he was the future star cornerback for the Buffalo Bills and then gone. I last remember him on the Eagles.
Yeah. Been a minute.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But so maybe revenge game for Ron Darby there as well.
I'm looking it up right now. He went to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Remember that. He played for Washington, Broncos, Ravens last season, and now the Jaguars.
Broncos sound familiar to me. Did not recall him on the Ravens.
I mean, this is his 9th season, probably 10th season. So he's made a nice little career for himself.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, Andy, bet MGM. Bills minus 5.5 for this game. I know last week I kind of went against the Bills just because the trip to Miami, short week, they didn't have home field advantage. I thought that offense would kind of go right through the Bills. None of that happened. So
you and I have flipped. I kind of then had to convince you that the Bills were okay last week.
Right.
I'm a little more concerned this week, and it has nothing to do with really what's happened on the field. It's just that weird Jacksonville vibe that they have trouble with this team for whatever reason. So to me, you're talking over under. I think this could be a closer game, and it's maybe a 3-4 point game.
I agree with you. I think this could be a 13-10 game, or it could be like a 40-37 game.
I don't see that because I think the Bills' defense is too good to give up that many points.
But that's the one thing you haven't had with them over their last couple of meetings is just going back and forth down the field.
Exactly, which is why I don't think it'll happen this time.
Okay, I think it will.
You're due, you think.
But I think it's still going to be close, so I would not take the 5.5.
No, I would go Jags there. I would not take the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over under 45.5. Now I have to do math in my head.
So last year was what? 25-20, so that's 45. 9-6 the previous time.
If Jordan could play some of that Jeopardy music, well, I think of I'm going to go with ready for this? Bills 27, Jaguars 24. Where does that get us?
That hits both things. Yeah, you're good. No, I mean
I'm good,
you're
right?
over.
All right, I'm taking the over. I'm in.
That's 51.
Over me up.
All right, I'm taking the under, and I will say 24-20 Bills.
All right, we both have the Bills this week. I took the Dolphins last week. I felt foolish once the game started and there was an interception right off the bat because you just knew this was
going to be one of those nights.
Yeah, it was going to be one of those nights. Andy, as we record this, it's the Thursday before the Bills. Thursday night football, back-to-back week, AFC East games. You had the Dolphins, Bills. Now you have the Jets and Patriots. Both teams 1-1 on the season. I think the Patriots might be a surprise 1-1, could be 2-0 if they played the Seahawks a little bit differently and didn't fall in overtime. This game a lot more interesting to me than I thought it was going to be, because it will be, were the Patriots for real shutting down the Bengals like they did with their defense? What's Aaron Rodgers going to do? I still think the AFC East plays out like you and I both kind of thought. The Tua injury, of course, is going to play a role in it. But more and more, and it's only 2 weeks in, if things play out like we saw over the first couple of weeks, looks like the Bills will just pull away with the AFC East.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season, but I am a little surprised that the Patriots have been more competitive. I thought that they were probably going to be the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that they still don't have that in them, because I don't think they're super talented, but they're playing okay. They're hanging with teams so far, and they got a nice win last week. I don't know. I just think
the Jets could have coughed one away to the Tennessee Titans.
the Jets probably should have lost that game, but Will Levis made some boneheaded plays. And I thought the Jets were going to be more impressive than they've been. I don't know why. I had more faith in Aaron Rodgers, and I had more faith in their defense, which has not looked great at times.
The Jets' defense should shut the Patriots down in their meeting here in Week 3.
The Patriots just don't have anybody you think's going to kill you.
Nope.
Right? Like, Stevenson's a nice running back, but you're not like, oh, my God, this guy's going to run for 200 yards.
Right.
And then, they have Polk and some other people on the outside. They're guys at this point. They might turn into nice players. And then
Hunter Henry was going to be this huge tight end for them.
Right.
He still makes plays.
Right.
But
And like, who is super fearful of Jacoby Brissett?
no one.
Right. Like, he's fine. He's
And it's
a
already
capable player in the NFL.
And he knows what his role is. To
Right.
just be there until Drake May is
ready.
They deem him ready.
If he ever is.
Or they have to force him in.
Right. So, to me, yeah, I think the Dolphins probably fall off a little bit here just because of Tua. And I think that it's probably the Jets and the Bills at that point, although for the division. Wouldn't surprise me if the Patriots give those teams a game. And I think it's going to come down to a couple of games, at the end of the season to see.
Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes more hateable than Brady and the Patriots after this weekend. I hated the way that Chiefs-Bengals game ended, but that's for another day, Andy.
We could discuss that all day.
See, now, I was out on my golf trip down to South Carolina. We were done for the day watching all the games, and the four of us were talking about, cool, Bengals knocking off the Chiefs, and then it just unraveled, and the Chiefs get that winner. And
I like Travis Kelce's personality.
I hate it.
You would, and I would.
And
like
his
it.
brother is on every other commercial. I'm
good for them, dude.
Well, whatever, good for them, but I don't like it.
Okay,
Good for them.
We're on opposite sides of this.
Ugh.
The Patriots were the most boring, elitist team I've ever seen. Ever. They were just like, our stuff doesn't stink.
It
and
didn't.
and we're better than you, and we're gonna do it our Patriot way, and all that. It made me nauseous. I hated it. Brady kind of playing that goody two shoes character, but really wasn't. Belichick, like, look at how awesome Belichick is now on these shows, and he's on social media now.
Right.
On to Cincinnati. That's all you got from that guy.
Along with the Super Bowls.
Well, no. I'm saying, like, they could have had fun and still won Super Bowls.
I don't think so.
No?
I think that played a big role into younger guys coming into the Patriots system and whatnot being put in line when Belichick would crap on Tom Brady in 2015 to show all the younger guys that this is Tom Brady. We've known him, and this head coach still treats him like garbage. Now, do I think that caught up with them? Yeah, I think that's why Brady wanted out, because he had enough of it.
Well, he also wanted to prove that it was him and not Belichick.
Of course, who wouldn't?
And who won that battle?
I would say Tom Brady.
I
won
would think
that
so, too.
battle.
Right. But like, look at the Chiefs. They're a current dynasty, and then you got Andy Reid in Hawaiian shirts and eating cheeseburgers, and Travis Kelce's doing podcasts, and Mahomes is Mahomes. Like, so there's different ways to go about creating a culture.
Oh no, I get it. You like Travis Kelce. I don't. We'll leave it at that. Because no, we won't get into it. We got more to get to.
Okay.
I was going to say, he did something during a playoff game when he was like really like his first or second year in the league, where he was like telling Rob Gronkowski he was the real 87. You're about to find out. And then the Patriots destroyed them and whatever. Gronk had a good game. So I'm from Williamsville. Gronk is my guy, Andy. Got to stick up for Gronk.
And Winchester, Massachusetts.
Either way.
Whatever.
Sabres open training camp this week, Andy, and it's very unique with the team having to kind of really get ready because they have to travel over to Germany to play in, I can't remember what it's called, the NHL's something series. They'll open the season with the Devils with 2 games over in Germany before coming back for the home opener against the Kings. But it's really interesting to watch because you're used to, with the NHL training camps, the veteran players mixing in with some of the younger players so the coaching staff can evaluate. But new old coach Lindy Ruff has the basically NHL roster practicing together because they have to get ready to play right away. And it's just bang, bang, bang. And it's really interesting on the difference in pace of practice.
Yeah, you were telling me you've been there the last couple of days. He's really putting them through the ringer.
Oh, my God. You get tired watching them do some of these drills. You know, I've said this a bazillion times. I play hockey on the weekend. Don't skate that fast. But when you watch it's just exhausting watching some of these drills because he's the forecheck. And I know this is football podcast, so we'll move on a bit.
It's all good, dude.
But the forecheck is what he's focusing on. So if you're not chasing down a guy and you're not trying to get into the mix, he's eyeballing you and he's not going to have it. So it's pretty crazy that you got to get all these practices in real quick before going over to Germany, and the pace of them are pretty nuts.
And Dahlin has been out the last couple of days. Is that right?
Yeah, that's up in the air.
Rasmus Dahlin, star defenseman, probably going to be their captain.
Lindy Ruff said when the injury first happened that it wasn't a lower body injury, it wasn't an upper body injury. It was what he would term a mid-body injury.
Okay.
So then it comes out that something happened when he was passing a puck. I'm not going to speculate, but I'm wondering if someone hit him in the abs or he's
right, oblique strain, groin, something of that nature.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff can happen when you're out there playing hockey in the middle regions where maybe you just want to shut it down. I don't know what happened, but Lindy Ruff said on the second day that he's going to miss a couple of days, a few days, the way he put it.
So this isn't Eichel when he got hurt right before the season started, right?
It doesn't sound like it, Andy.
Hockey's so tough to know, though, because they tell you nothing about injuries.
No, they don't.
It's archaic.
This is a football podcast.
Don't they know people are gambling and need to know?
Come on, man. All right, Andy, what you watching? I'm back to it because I actually watched something. Have you heard of Chimp Madness yet?
No.
So it's Tiger King, but with a woman who helps a chimpanzee enclosure in Missouri.
Does this mean that there's a pandemic coming? Because that's when Tiger King was.
Well, let's see. Let's add to my list. It's an election year.
Okay.
Donald Trump's running for president. We have a new Tiger King out. There was something else that happened over the summer. I had a list, and everyone thought I was crazy. But am I crazy, Andy, that another pandemic's coming?
Dude, you need another podcast called Buffalo Conspiracies because you love conspiracy theories.
I do. I love all of it, and Jordan, who's producing the podcast, loves it too. He and I talk about it. Big Bigfoot guy, by the way.
Big Bigfoot guy.
But I just think it's fun. Like, I would love the X-Files as a kid, so I just love all this. Well, what if this is going on? But at any rate, you might be right. The other thing, to get in the Halloween theme, Andy, Real Nightmares on Elm Street. The bizarre thing about this is it's like a true crime show.
Yeah.
But there's an Elm Street involved in all of them.
Okay.
So the first episode was it was one of there were things in it that literally made me jump. But the house was on Elm Street. The courthouse was on Elm Street. The jail he ended up going to was on an Elm Street.
There's an Elm Street right out here. Should I not take that home?
I would go that way.
Okay.
Out here. But yeah, they're all from different parts of the country, but I thought it was like a Halloween themed thing, but it's just a crime thing. But
okay.
Nightmare on Elm Street's good.
I'm tuned in now to I'm a wrestling guy, pro wrestling, WWE guy, a little AEW too. They just moved SmackDown from Fox to the USA Network, and Monday Night Raw is going to Netflix.
Really?
Yeah. So I wonder, it'll be interesting to see when Raw goes to Netflix, how much edgier the content gets there.
Yes.
That'll be really cool. Who doesn't love the Attitude Era? Stone Cold and The Rock and all these ridiculous things and feigned nudity during wrestling shows. And
always fun.
Yeah. And I've also been watching the next season of Transformers Earthspark, which is a cartoon for kids.
Oh, all right.
And there's a new Transformers movie coming out, Transformers 1. I think it's already out in theaters in the previews. So that's kind of been a lot of my stuff revolves around kids and sports.
And that's fine, right?
I did start the Tombstone documentary.
Finally.
So I watched like half an episode and had to move on, but
Yeah.
it was interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It gives you a little more detail than you got from that movie and the Wyatt Earp movie Kevin Costner made. That
more Hollywood than.
Like you look at the relationships the Clantons had with the Earps and stuff like that. There's a little more there than they just hated each other for no apparent reason.
Right. So that's interesting. I'll probably dive more into that as free time allows.
So that's good, too. So we're back into the swing of things now. It's cool, Andy. Another weekend of watching Red Zone and whatnot with the Bills playing on Monday. So college football, NFL football. I'll play hockey Saturday morning. I won't play on Sunday.
Thursday night football tonight as we're recording.
Yep, Thursday night football. So I was away on a golf trip. My wife bragged she didn't watch 1 second of football all last week. Things are changing this week.
Hi, Claire.
Claire, I promise you can enjoy the upstairs TV.
Go to your cave.
Yeah, anyways, Bills, Jaguars. Oh, before we go, 7:30 football game, Bills, Jags. I pray, I know it's a doubleheader, I pray someone realizes that's when these night games need to start, is 7:30 at night. Every single one of them across the board. Part of the reason why I come to this is the talk of no one stays up late anymore. I don't know anyone who stays up to watch The Tonight Show like you used to watch the evening news, get your information, go to sleep to Johnny Carson. It's the way it was back in the day, Andy. It doesn't seem that it's like that now because everything's on demand. So why are you staying up that late? Move that kickoff to 7:30 like the NHL, MLB, NBA.
It's about eyeballs. It's about the primetime window and advertising.
But the primetime window is not that late anymore.
It shouldn't be. I agree with you. Let's all make an effort to not watch shows after 11 o'clock at night.
Sold.
Right? And then maybe our sports will get moved up. Like, there's nothing worse than when MLB, the World Series, starts at like 9 o'clock or the NBA Finals, especially for kids. You want you want the next generation to see these games. Start them at 7:30, 8 o'clock at the latest. And then you got your next generation gets to be a part of that. My kids go to bed at 8:30, right?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I think Monday Night Football went to 9 o'clock.
It was
for a
9
while.
o'clock when we were younger. Yes.
I used to get to watch the Open.
Right.
Right, and that was it. All right, Bills, Jaguars, 7 o'clock coming up on Monday. Andy and I will join you with Stevie Johnson. I did that last week, too, towards the end.
Stevie Johnson.
Stevie Johnson on the Buffalo End Zone post-game show.
He's got some awesome takes. He's an interesting dude to have on the show.
Love it.
Because he'll say some oddball things, too, but he has his reasons. Like, he'll back it up with facts. So it's interesting to have him on the show. Really provides a fun, interesting perspective.
Yeah, and then Andy and I will follow with the post-game podcast to kind of wrap things up.
In the middle of the night.
At probably 1 o'clock Monday or Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I got home to the hotel in Miami at 2 a.m. after we recorded the podcast. So if we can get me to bed by 1:30,
that's the goal.
I'm loving life.
You know, I don't want to stick around. Andy, what do the viewers need to do again?
They need to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, Spotify, Google, Apple, all those places. Hit that little button, like, comment, subscribe.
Absolutely. And, yeah, that's going to do it.
Yeah, we'll see you Monday night.
See you Monday night, everybody.